Hi, my name is Brad Taylor, and I just finished my freshman year at RHS. I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years, and I'm going to give you a glimpse today of what's actually going on inside these schools. Despite the board's attempt to deny it, District 196 schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. I'll take you back to my first day at RHS this fall. The principal came out and gave us a heartfelt speech about equality and standing together. He began to list countless races, such as Latino, Asian, expressing how much they matter and how important they are. But never once did he mention a race or identity that reflects me, or half the kids that were in the class. Now, members of the board, I know you haven't been to school in a while, and I know none of you, or most of you, don't have any kids left in the school district. But you must admit how uncomfortable it will be to be characterized just by your skin color on the first day of school, and be thought that you were wrong just because of your skin color. So I will never forget the look one of my friends gave me from across the room as we were sitting there listening to this blatant bias being expressed in the so-called equity statement by the leader of our school. To be clear, I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but hearing the condolences given to other races and leaving just one race out, inevitably you'll start to feel like you've done something wrong. And in our principal's attempt to unify us, he instead created unwarranted boundaries and barriers between his students, pitting us against each other based on characteristics that we can't control. In another separate instance, I was told that writing "All Lives Matter" on the whiteboard was political and could be seen as offensive. When I questioned the teacher after class, she told me that she didn't have an answer and she just had to erase it, and it was quickly erased. There are political signs all over RHS, about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter, and specific perspectives that matter. But when I questioned the RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. And when I asked why that was, they told me, quote, "Whites have a pretty good situation right now," unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin? To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged and pointing out our irreversible differences, I've never noticed race more. And it's becoming the first thing I notice when I meet someone, which has never before been the case. RHS administration confidently told me that RHS students and staff are happy with their equity statement. But from my experience in talking with other students, this is not the case.
And there it is. The school wants us to believe everyone is on board with this equity agenda. But in reality, students and parents who question it are dismissed or labeled as offensive. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. They push this one-size-fits-all approach, ignoring real concerns from those they're supposed to serve. It's no longer about educating, it's about indoctrinating. And if you don't agree, you're out of line. Schools should be places of learning, not places of forced ideology.
I've been coming here for 5 years now, and I was going to talk to you about some practical things that I thought you could change about 3210, but I've changed my mind. I've been really confused over the last 5 years as to why we spend 45 minutes to an hour of every public meeting talking about how great everyone is and how great everything is in the schools, and now I've figured it out. I figured it out because all these people came here to defend you all from hurtful words. This is obnoxious. Let me just say, there is one goal for the educational system. It should be to prepare children to enter careers to be productive members of society. It is not a counseling session. It is not a self-help area. It is not somewhere to find yourself, and we should not be led by the children, for goodness sake. The children are called dependents for a reason. They depend on us who have fully developed brains. You cannot feel your way through life. The issues that we are talking about, we are bringing you statistics. We are talking about scholastics. We are talking about funding. We are talking about busing. We are talking about trying to figure out how to make our children be as successful as possible. And I am sure that that is your goal. And what we have been called tonight is what they're claiming that we're saying to children. We're having an adult conversation. There are not children in this room. We aren't going into the schools and calling them names. They call us Marxists and hateful and bigots and everything else under the sun. Well, let me tell you, Less than 5% of the entire population of North Carolina identifies as LGBTQ. You guys all claim you want democracy. Well, you know what democracy is? It's the majority plus one. It's 50 plus 1. You know what? More than 50% of the people in this state claim that they believe in God, Almighty God, who made us male and female, God who made marriage between a man and a woman, God who said that we must protect our children. The fact that we can stand up here and we can brag about all of the wonderful graduations, but we know the statistics. 50% of children did not pass their end of grade tests. What are we celebrating? We have children coming up here telling us how horrible the mental health crisis is. Why? Most of us went to public school, and all of our peers are not in mental health crises. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to our children? I'm going to say we are discussing things with them that they are not emotionally, intellectually, and morally able to handle. That is what is causing the anxiety. That is what is causing the depression. That is what is causing the confusion. We need our children to be able to be children, to be able to be innocent, to be able to enjoy childhood and not know all of the drama and all of the difficulties in adult life.
Exactly. What happened to letting kids be kids? This push to burden them with adult issues, politics, gender identity, activism, is robbing them of their innocence. When did it become the school's job to expose children to complex issues they're not even ready to understand? Instead of focusing on math, science, and basic literacy, we're distracting kids with issues meant for adults. It's no wonder anxiety and depression are on the rise. Children should be learning how to think, not what to think.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, OK. I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify. And you said you want to...
As what?
If you'd like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison, when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam. Which
is a terrible, very distressing, isolated incident. And I think it's easy to take that and say that means that no one can identify as a woman.
But
and
it's not an isolated incident, though.
But it's
42% of trans-identifying prisoners in prison are in there for sex crimes. There's actually an advantage, evidently, to identifying as a female, because they never identify as male, because somehow male prisons seem less appealing to them. It's really weird. Anyway, but
is it limitless, this self-identity?
It's not totally limitless.
What's the limit?
When you're talking about International Women's Day, I don't know why we take the conversation around International Women's Day and make it about this.
But if anyone...
There's so many benefits.
Right, but if anyone, according
to
to you, can identify as a woman, anyone can, right?
I don't see a problem with...
Just literally put the hand up and say, I'm a woman.
But it's not an easy thing to do, to go out into
Actually,
the world.
It's very easy.
Very easy.
You might think it's easy to say, but to decide to do that, to say...
What does doing it involve?
Whatever that person decides, but to go out into the world and say, I don't identify as perhaps the sex I was born as...
So why can't I identify... OK, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was...
I'm serious. I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say, I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status...
I think that's what...
about quite a
with respect, I think that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say, I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think what you said ridicules trans people, because actually people who go through the full process of transition, who actually go through what we used to call a sex change, which I don't think you can muck around with original biology, but those who actually go through surgical procedure over a number of years, I've got great respect for that very difficult journey they go on. I have zero respect for people who just wallop their hand up and go, suddenly, I'm a woman and I want all the rights that a woman has and I want to compete, say, in sport. I'm a 6'4" athlete, sprinter, swimmer, whatever, who's competed very mediocrely in male sport. I now want to come in and crush women in swimming pools and in sprinting events and break all their records, perhaps irrevocably, just by saying, I'm a woman. I think that is the absurdity you were talking about.
This is where we've gone off the rails. What's supposed to be about inclusion and respecting individual identity has turned into something unrecognizable. We're now allowing this broad, unchecked self-identification to infringe upon fairness and safety. You have people claiming identities for convenience or advantage, undermining the experiences and rights of others. And then we're told it's bigoted to question this? It's not bigotry, it's common sense. There has to be a line where respect for personal identity doesn't violate the boundaries of reality, fairness, and yes, biology. Without it, we're not protecting anyone's rights. We're just giving into chaos.
But can you imagine you coming to our restaurants and then you get some people coming to your table and trying to disrupt your evening? It's abuse.
I am going to start running into vegan restaurants.
That's fine. Go for
just
it.
shouting
That's your
and
right,
being
that's your
annoying
right to
and
protest,
grabbing
Piers.
tables, and so you can't eat your gruel, and just see how you lot like it. I'm
Honestly,
going to go to
Piers.
your house and chop paint
Piers.
all over it.
Piers, you've got a right to protest. Oof! You've got me another one.
Stick it off your bingo.
Fantastic.
Stick it off your bingo, son.
But where's the salt? Where's it?
Won't need any of this gruel.
That's it.
Let's put that
Fantastic.
to one side, but I will have a bit of steak just to...
You didn't salt it though.
You see, all you've achieved is you've made me want to do this. Just eat a
That's
lovely...
absolutely fine. You go for it.
This perfectly showcases the irony here. They demand the right to protest, to disrupt, to impose their views in spaces that don't welcome it, yet turn around and act outraged if the tables were turned. They champion free expression, but only if it's their expression. It's as if common decency, respect for others' spaces, and even basic courtesy go out the window under the banner of activism.
Are you supposed to be Jesus? Is that your whole thing?
I am Jesus. Thank you, everybody.
That's awfully heretical, but okay.
Well, I heard you kept saying my name, so I wanted to show up. You know,
Okay.
I'm busy trying to save the planet from this apocalypse going on. You know what I mean? Jesus H. Christ, but you can just call me Josh. All right, why don't you ask me the questions? I'm sure you have plenty of them.
Okay, what's the Hebrew word for father?
Man, you know, let me tell you something. Abba.
I'm sorry?
Abba.
That's the Greek word for father.
Yeah, Greek, you know, whatever. Point I'm trying to say is this,
Yeah,
man.
you don't even make a good Jesus.
Whatever.
What language did Jesus speak?
Aramaic.
Okay, tell me one thing
But
in
you have
Aramaic.
to understand, man, I have to come here to speak to you now. You don't speak Aramaic, otherwise you and me would be speaking Aramaic.
Oh, okay,
I have to
right.
speak this kind of dumbed down stuff for
The
you.
enemy has come to lie, steal, cheat, and destroy. What did Jesus say?
I said love your neighbor.
Wrong. The
And
enemy
how
has
is that
come to- hold
working
on.
out, by the way?
enemy has come to lie,
I'm pretty sure
steal...
I said love
hold on,
your
hold on a
neighbor,
second. You're not even a good
love
Jesus. It's
God,
one of the most.
and love
It's one of the
yourself.
most popular verses in the Bible. John 10:10. The enemy has come
I
to
didn't
lie,
write the
steal, cheat,
Bible.
and destroy.
Who wrote that thing anyways?
I
I
have
did
come
not
to
write
give
the
life and
Bible.
life more abundantly. Okay, so you don't even know the scriptures, and you're pretending to be Jesus. But tell me why you're here.
I am Jesus, and I didn't write the scriptures. I lived them. And
But
the
you
main
can't
thing
even
I want
remember
to
what
tell
you
you is
said?
this. I said love your neighbor and love everybody. That's
Yeah.
something that you guys really need to figure
Well,
out.
hold on a
And I
second.
know I got some of my fan club
let's
here.
hold
with
on a
the-
second. Hold
First,
on. What are those two verses?
My name was
Love your na-
Yeshua. Let's
love
get
your
skipping.
neighbor as yourself. Where is that in the Bible?
I don't know. I didn't write
Yeah,
it.
Leviticus 19. Hold on.
I didn't write the Bible.
I thought you're Jesus.
I'm
You-
Jesus.
You know
it's
the Torah,
about
right?
me, not by me.
Hold on a
Look,
second.
The point is this, my
Hold on.
friend.
Jesus,
I said love
Jesus
your
was a-
neighbor and love
you're
everybody. I
backpedaling
don't know
so
exa-
fast 'cause you don't
no,
even
no,
know
no,
the Torah
I'm
as
saying
a
the
pretend
same
Jesus.
thing I was saying
Hold
the
on a
first
second.
time. You see, nobody believed me the first time I was here, and then you fucking crucified me.
love-
I was trying to say this, man. Love everybody. Love your neighbor. Stop killing
you
everybody.
don't even know
and
the verse.
Genocides are bad. How about that? You
Yeah,
want to put that in the Bible? You can add that
I
as
agree.
well.
So, okay, so you want to talk
stop
about-
killing people who are just sitting there. That would be probably
are
a
you
good
trying
idea.
to connect with Israel Hamas? Is that your thing?
Pretty
or-
much the whole world
Okay.
at this point. We got a lot of issues. Kendrick Drake, and what else is going on around here? Look,
Okay, so
I will
wait,
say
hold on.
this: they
But-
not like us, and this is pretty obvious. But I will. Look, the point I'm trying to make to you. What was your name again? Charlie? Chadley?
I thought you're Jesus and everything,
Chadwick?
man.
No, man, I'm too busy. I got an actual job to
Oh,
do.
yeah, so you believe in a
like
God
if
who's
I,
too
if,
busy,
if,
not-
if I were
not an
like you, I'd be
omnipotent,
able to kind of
omniscient
sit
God, yeah.
here and pretend that
You're the
important.
worst Jesus
But
I've ever seen,
I'm the
like-
only Jesus, and I will
You're
say
the
this:
only Jesus,
I am
right.
the only one. Matter of fact, and I live in all of you, and thank you for making time for me. By the way, it's been a while. Look. I would say this: if you really are a fan of mine and you're in my fan club, just be a nicer person, man.
Well,
Just
where does it say to be nice in the Bible?
It's pretty much all over
No,
there.
hold on,
That
name-
was kind of
what
the
does the
point.
word nice mean in Latin?
The point I was trying to
It means
make
ignoramus. Where
is
does it
to
say?
love,
Wait, in the
love,
can you tell me the Ten
amor.
Commandments?
How about
Let's go
amor?
through the Ten Commandments. Want to do it together? Since you're Jesus, let's go.
Right.
What are they?
don't be an asshole, number one.
Okay, hold on.
How about number 1 through 10, don't be an asshole?
Wait,
That
hold
would be a
on.
great
Actually,
one.
that's not one of the Ten
pretty much
Commandments.
summed it up.
I am the Lord that you delivered you from Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no other graven images. You shall never take the Lord's name in vain. You shall honor your mother and father, so may live long in the land in which you are in. You shall honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy. You shall not murder. You shall not steal. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not covet your neighbor's house.
We got a sinner go
You
here.
shall.
1 and a 2 and a 3.
wait,
We got a
you
sinner
don't like
soul.
the Decalogue
We
'cause
got a
you don't
sinner.
know the
Give it up
Decalogue.
for the
Okay.
sinner, everybody. Give it up for the sinner,
All right.
everybody. Good job.
Look at this interaction, pretending to be Jesus, twisting scripture, mocking religious beliefs. This is what it's come to, using faith as a punchline in their agenda. If this was any other religion, it would be condemned as offensive. But here, when it's Christianity, it's treated as fair game. Faith deserves respect, not mockery. And yet they claim to promote inclusivity while they tear down traditional beliefs. It's hypocrisy at its finest.
Is it funny?
Because it is funny. You know it is funny.
It's
You had a
not
little
funny.
smirk yourself before.
I actually don't
you
find
see
this
it
kind of thing
yourself.
funny. I think
No,
it's,
come on.
I actually think it's quite sad.
It's not sad. It's comedy.
Let me bring him.
It's
let me,
satire comedy.
Well, maybe.
You know it is. You know it is.
I'm not-
You know it is, Piers. I've been an actor for 13 years.
George,
you know
George.
damn right I know how this industry works.
George, let's bring in Riz, who's chuckling away because you find all this terribly amusing. Riz, you supported Just Stop Oil. No one at Wimbledon today supports Just Stop Oil. They just think you're a bunch of idiots. I know you weren't there today. You were shouting at the Royals up in Scotland. Why do you support this kind of protest that we're seeing at all these sporting events?
Oh, I'm not sure I've completely condoned that. And to be clear, I'm not speaking on behalf of Republic today. I speak on behalf of No More Royals. But absolutely, we were protesting in Scotland. And Piers, you're gonna, you've just been going on at these guys at Just Stop Oil about why are you disrupting ordinary people and why don't you target the right thing? And we've been doing that, shouting at the king.
Why do you support that method of protesting? Why don't you come out and condemn Just Stop Oil like Trevor Nielsen, who was funding some of this stuff before, has suddenly realised the penny's dropped, it doesn't work?
I'd like to talk about coronation because it's but to respond to that question, we're in a climate crisis. It's horrifying. I'm terrified for my future, and Just Stop Oil are one of the only groups of people at the moment who are doing anything about that. But as I say, I'd like to focus on the issue.
Well, I'm sure you would. I'd like to focus on what's just happened because it's indicative of a summer of protest by people who think that they can convert people to their cause. Even if people are inclined to do so, we're now at a point where you can tell from the audience reactions at these events, they literally want to garrote them. And what worries me is it is going to lead to bad situations if this carries on, because people are just going to take the law into their own hands.
Sorry, that's stupid. Sorry, I
Well, you don't have to keep swearing, Riz, with respect.
Do you want to talk about the protest?
Riz,
yeah,
you don't have
enough.
to keep
Do
swearing.
you want to talk about the protest,
Yeah.
or do you want to say that protests shouldn't happen and we should all suck it up and deal with it? Because that's easy for you, right? Like, you've been dealt a pretty good hand.
I believe
So
in
have I,
peaceful
by the way.
protest.
But I actually care.
I believe in
Okay,
peaceful protest.
So do you want to talk about the peaceful protest today?
I believe
then?
in
Do you wanna
peaceful
talk about it?
protest. I don't believe in wrecking ordinary people's lives as they're going to work, as they're going to hospital, as they, on some cases, going to funerals. I don't think that when they pay
Cool,
for
yeah.
sporting events that they maybe save money for all year long.
That's fine,
They
because
should have
neither
those. They
Republic
should
or
have
No
those
More Royals
ruined.
did that today. I'd love
They shouldn't
to
have
talk
it
about
ruined
that.
by a bunch of.
Let's talk about it. There was Republic up at one end who were a massive crowd, far bigger than any of the monarchists. I mean, the streets are pretty much empty. I haven't had a chance yet to look at any of the coverage, but I think you'll see that because there is pretty much nothing going on the monarchist end, and the Republic demo is enormous. And then there's No More Royals, who did a banner drop chanting, can I swear? I just did. The king, feed the hungry, because that's what we want to talk about, right?
You know what?
This
You know
is
what, Riz? For a
outrageous.
very
They've done this.
You know what, Riz? For a bright young woman who's getting a very good, expensive education, you do behave like a complete foul-mouthed idiot. You don't do yourself any favours. Why do you think coming on a show like this and just repeatedly using the F word, why do you think that makes you look any better?
Yeah, I did
Here we have it. This notion that vulgarity and disruption somehow count as productive activism. When did this become acceptable behavior? There's this belief that if you're loud enough, offensive enough, and disruptive enough, it legitimizes your cause. But it doesn't. All it does is alienate people, push them away, and make your message harder to take seriously. These activists think they're shaking up the system, but in reality, they're doing more harm than good, undermining the genuine efforts of those who protest responsibly. Respectful dialogue doesn't require shock tactics. It requires genuine, thoughtful conversation.
You're going to accuse someone of spreading misinformation. I think it's important you should get your facts right. It wasn't just the Free Speech Union account, it was my personal account and the account of the Daily Skeptic that were closed by PayPal, and they were closed by PayPal in September of this year, not 2020. And whilst PayPal did cite spreading misinformation about the COVID-19 vaccines as one of several reasons they ran up the flagpole for doing it, that was on the Daily Skeptic, not Twitter. They subsequently resiled because they restored my account about 2 weeks later after I kicked up an almighty fuss in the media and in Parliament. But apart from that, spot on. Freedom of speech should not mean freedom from consequences. I wonder if you'd include what happened to Salman Rushdie earlier this year as a consequence of free speech. But look, before we get into the substance of this, I just want to tell you how puzzled I was by one of the phrases. This House believes woke culture has gone too far. It was the conjunction of the words woke and culture, because what is woke culture? So Christian civilization has the King James Bible, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Handel's Messiah. Modernism has Tchaikovsky, Picasso, Frank Lloyd Wright, Virginia Woolf. What art and culture has the woke cult given rise to? She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Meghan Markle's podcast, the collected works of Owen Jones. The phrase woke culture is an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, like social distancing and military intelligence. Gone too far. Woke culture has yet to get beyond the embryo stage. It's a cultural desert, a gaping void. But perhaps I'm being too literal. I assume we're talking about the ideological movement, the intersectionality cult, the oppression Olympics, the critical theories, as James Lindsay would put it, the grievance industrial complex, the great awakening, Woker's day, what Orwell would have referred to as a smelly little orthodoxy. So first let me acknowledge, Alex, that the moral impulse underpinning this movement is laudable. Wanting to reduce prejudice and discrimination and improve outcomes for historically disadvantaged groups is an admirable goal. We can quibble about the inconsistent ways in which woke moral standards are applied. In fact, let's quibble. If you think slavery is abhorrent, why focus on the historical involvement of Britain and America in the slave trade and turn a blind eye to the enslavement of nigh on 2 million Uyghurs in contemporary China, or the 200,000 people imprisoned in labor camps in North Korea? If you care about women's rights, why neglect the plight of women in Iran, who risk being beaten to death by the religious police if they don't wear the hijab? If you care about social injustice, why obsess over the inequality of different identity groups and ignore class inequalities, surely a much more pervasive source of injustice? I often suspect the reason this doctrine has gained such purchase in private schools and elite universities is so people who, according to a traditional left-wing perspective, are extraordinarily privileged can claim to be victims of oppression. I'm also puzzled by the stubborn refusal of the social justice warriors to acknowledge any of the good things about Britain, as well as itemizing the bad. Yes, the British Empire participated in the slave trade, but then so did every other empire, stretching back to ancient Greece and beyond. What makes the British Empire exceptional is that we were the first empire in history to pass a law abolishing slavery and commit blood and treasure to ending it across the world.
This is the crux of the hypocrisy. While woke culture claims to fight for justice, it picks and chooses its battles based on whatever fits the narrative, ignoring the bigger injustices that are glaring and current. What we're seeing is selective outrage, condemning certain historical wrongs, but downplaying or outright ignoring present-day atrocities in places where it's inconvenient or less popular to criticize. And what do they offer as culture? a collection of shallow, performative gestures, while actual, meaningful accomplishments in history are discarded or vilified. If we want true progress, it can't be about tearing down everything that came before us, but about recognizing and building on the full scope of human achievement.